Welcome to the Women of Victory podcast. I am so excited for everybody to be joining us today. I'm Pastor Di, and we have just had so many great podcasts. I hope that you've had an opportunity to check a lot of them out. And I have one of my very, very, very favorite people on the podcast today. This is Abby, and I'm going to just let her introduce herself and tell everybody a little bit about you.
All right. Well, my name is Abby. I'm Pastor Justin's wife. We have 5 kids. We've been married 15 years, coming up on 16. We have been at Victory Life for 14 of those years. Yeah,
Wow.
We started coming here.
I didn't realize you guys were just newlyweds when you came.
Yep. We just moved to Battle Creek and
you were
found
both
a great church.
Public school teachers then?
We were both public school teachers. Justin had gotten a job here in Battle Creek, which is why we moved here, and I didn't yet have a job.
Okay.
I ended up getting a teaching position a week after school started. They needed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So it worked out great. We were literally, our schools were on the same street.
Even better.
Because we were sharing one car at the time. So it worked out perfectly, totally orchestrated by God. So
And that feels like a lifetime ago right now?
it really does. It really feels like a lifetime ago. My goodness.
And so you're not teaching now. What are
No.
you doing with your time now?
I spend all my time with my kids at home.
Mm-hmm.
I homeschool and manage a baby and a toddler in between, math and language arts lessons. So
Very good.
managing naps and, it's a good time. Really.
So you were a manager.
I am a manager. I'm a chef. I'm an interior designer. I am a nature enthusiast. I am a baker. What do moms do? I mean,
That's
we do it all, right?
You have it all. You have it all,
Yep.
right? Plus taking care of your husband.
And that is just the best thing ever because he's so chill, which is great.
And he is so tell everybody what he does for those that may not know.
So Justin is the next gen pastor here. So he oversees the next generation ministries, which is everything from birth all the way up to the college career age, the young adults group. So he oversees all of that, but he is directly over Impact Next Level and young adults.
Okay. So junior high school, college, young marrieds. He's got it all, right?
He's got it all.
Him and I think last year was the first year I officiated more weddings than he did.
Yeah.
And I told him I needed to wear that badge of honor because normally he
does a lot of weddings
because of all the young adults.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's crazy now to see, young adults that were in middle school when we first started here, and then they're having babies now.
Right.
And it's like, you feel like a proud parent. Like, oh, you were just a little one when we started here, and now you're having babies.
Well, I mean, that's true for my daughters.
Mm-hmm.
I think about just for everyone to hear. I mean, that's part of how you've been in my life for so long is to see that you had become a Paul for my daughters, poured into them. They babysat for you. And
Ellie was my makeup model for many years.
Yes, that's right. Elena was, she came and house sat for when you didn't have kids, you only had animals.
Yep. Nuts, our dog.
Yep. And now Justin did both their weddings. And you did the makeup for their weddings. They have babies.
Oh my gosh. So cute.
Yes, that's how we all feel like we watch everybody around us age and it doesn't feel like we do.
Right.
Yeah.
Man.
So, yeah, in fact, they're about aligning with you with having babies the same age as some of your babies.
I know. It's kind of crazy because I feel like a mom to some of these young women, but I now have a 5th baby who is the same age as their first baby. So
right.
Okay, well, that's cool.
And that I had that conversation with the girls, just how that is. And I said, it shows the generation ahead, but then it's to still understand being in that time, in that scenario with them too and stuff. So you and Justin have a lot of generations covered there and you didn't even realize it.
Yeah. We love it. It's amazing.
So the kids span from what? Tell us age-wise here.
Oldest is 10, Abbey, and we all go all the way down to 5 months old. So
okay. All right. That's great.
Got 5 under 10.
2 digits.
Two
The
digits.
10-year-old.
Yep.
I love that.
Yep. So
Well,
it's busy, but
yeah.
it's amazing.
Oh, that's so good. That's so good. So you guys have been married going on 16
Going on
years.
16 years.
Okay. So did that put was Justin college sweetheart? How did that come about?
We did meet in college, although we weren't going to the same college. We actually met at a Bible study that was being hosted at a college campus. I was not going to college there at the time, but I had heard through the vine that there was a Bible study, and I was kind of like, I was at that age, I was 18, and I was like too old to be in youth group, but we didn't have a young adults ministry at our church, and I was trying to find my place. And so I heard from somebody that worked at the college that there was a Bible study group that met there. So I showed up out of the blue, and there was Justin. He had a mohawk. He was full of energy. He was crazy, and I was like, this guy's crazy. But we initially, we were not interested in each other or attracted to each other. We kind of, as I got more involved in the Bible study group there, I ended up switching over to Olivet College. We just did ministry together. We had a lot of the same friends because of that group. And as our friendship grew, there was kind of an unveiling of the character we saw in each other over time. And he actually, when I first met him, he was a newly saved Christian. He'd only been saved 6 months.
Okay.
So I was glad for that year that we had of friendship to, be able to really see him grow and mature in the Lord. And he had just had a lot of character and integrity. So.
Yeah, I love that. So, and then how long after that did you guys get married?
Let's see, we dated for 11 months, and then we were engaged for 9 months.
Okay.
So
okay.
I tried to expedite the process. When we got engaged, I was like, let's get married. And he was like, no, I think we should wait. And now he's like, we should have got married sooner. So, you live and you learn.
That's you look back at it, and then you have that wisdom for all of the young adults and everybody that both of you guys as a couple, him as the pastor here for that to pour into.
Yep, we're always counseling couples. Don't have a long engagement. Don't do it. Yeah, not worth it.
It's not worth it. Yeah, Dean and I were under 6 months.
Yeah,
I was 20, and we were. And I'm glad. I think we probably would have been sooner than we kept moving it up. I was the one. Yeah, kept moving it up from summer to spring to winter to
Yep.
It's the way to do it.
If you know you're going to get married, just get married.
Just go for it. Yeah. Get some pre-marriage counseling.
Yes. and that is, the emphasis that we try to focus on is, you want to invest into your marriage, not so much into your wedding.
Right.
There's just such a big emphasis on having like really big weddings that take, some venues aren't available for 2 years out. And it's like, okay, that's really not the point of your marriage. So, we do really emphasize, building your marriage and investing in your marriage. And then get married.
Well, and then I think that gives you a good foundation from the beginning that this is what we're investing in.
Right.
And through all of those seasons, then Dean and I have been married 35 years this year and stuff. And we've been through all of, we're grandparents now.
Yep.
And stuff, but we can look and see, all right, because we've invested in that and has continued to do that through our marriage,
right,
and through raising kids and now grandkids and things like that, that there's value in that. And I don't even know that I could remember much about our wedding.
Right. It's a blur, isn't it?
It is a blur.
It goes really fast, and it's such a short amount of time. So much planning and money goes into such a short amount of time, really. So, we love to do pre-marriage ministry and counseling. We really have a heart for that. And because we just have a heart for healthy marriages and being married almost 16 years now, we've gone through some stuff and we have, come out on the other side on a lot of things. Of course, we've got a lifetime still together, and I'm sure there'll be new challenges and different things, but I've learned a lot along the way of really how to be the best wife that I can be for Justin.
Yes.
And serving him. And one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is how important honor is to him. And I think that both men and women respond to honor.
Absolutely.
And it really translates to all relationships. You can honor, you can bring honor into friendships.
Yep.
You can bring honor into parenting. You can bring honor into work relationships with a boss or other coworkers. You can bring honor into your family, whether it's a parent or a sibling. And so I think men and women both respond to honor, but I feel like men in particular have just this God-given desire to be honored. And we see that in relationships with men, like men and men.
Yes.
You think about in work environments, military, there's just they have this strong desire to feel honored. And when I started to kind of crack the code on that and realize, you hear it a lot, but it's like, okay, what does that mean?
Right.
And when I really understood what that meant for Justin, it really changed our marriage in a very impactful way, and definitely impacted the way I see him and respond to him, and the way that he saw me and responded to me. And it was just kind of a big seismic shift.
Right.
In our marriage, was just understanding.
So it wasn't just you making that, having that awareness. It changed both sides.
Yeah, absolutely. And, when it comes to stuff like this, where, you want to obey God and you want to do what God is asking you to do, it doesn't guarantee that the other person is going to change or respond, in the way that you expect. But oftentimes God does something in you when you choose to obey and to lay down your life for the other person. And I would argue that in most situations, the other person is going to respond.
Oh yeah.
And they're gonna just view you in a different way. And but there's a lot of internal work sometimes that you have to do of laying down your own pride, and really picking up humility and choosing to serve the other person and see through the lens of what do they need. What can I do to serve them? How can I be a help to them?
So that the serving aligns with the honor.
Absolutely. And particularly for my husband, because his love language is acts of service. And so, one of the ways that he really feels honored by me is when I find ways to serve him. And sometimes it's, maybe bigger, grander gestures, and other times it's more subtle. And I think the subtle things are the everyday ways that I see him and I value him and appreciate him. And he feels honored because I am trying to focus my efforts on what he needs. And, the opposite of that would be focused on my own needs and selfishly seeking to, me.
Well, which could be, especially at the stage of life, just the season that you're in as a woman, you're a stay-at-home mom.
Yep.
We listed earlier all of your hats, not even all of them.
Not even all of them.
No, we chipped a little bit off the block of the hats that you wear.
Yeah.
And, to have that at home and to be managing all of that, it's very easy, I think, for anyone that's staying home, male or female, to, you have your spouse or someone, or your single mom, that there's all these external things going on that you don't see or you don't have. So it would be very easy for him to come home or within the relationship for you to be me focused.
Yeah.
Because you're feeling like, okay, it's my time.
Yep. And I will say honestly that I lived a lot of years with that mentality of feeling like I deserve XYZ because this is, my life. And I realized, that I had really picked up a victim mentality for a lot of years. And I at some point had to acknowledge that, like, he is carrying a load from his day too. And I need to honor that. And, a big thing that I realized is even though I'm in the season where we have little kids and it can be chaotic at times, and it's, it's physically exhausting, it's emotionally exhausting, it's mentally exhausting. One of the things I realized was that I could bring a lot of peace to our home by making sure that Justin was cared for and that he felt honored, loved, appreciated. And I really wanted home to be a place that was a stress reliever for him.
Yeah.
And I wanted it to be just a safe haven and a sanctuary for him to come home to and recognize that in his line of work, he carries a lot of emotional, mental stress.
Yeah.
These are people's lives, and he's caring for people, and he's highly invested in people's lives, and that takes a toll. And that's ministry, and that's the life that we chose.
Yeah.
And I wanted to make sure that when he came home, that he was able to kind of feel like he had a soft landing at home.
I like that. Soft landing.
Yeah. And, he's really affirmed and confirmed a lot of the effort I've put into that. And by letting me know, like, yes, I appreciate that, and he often tells me when he comes home, you are the softest thing in my world, and realizing that, if men were left to their own devices without women, let me just go there for a second.
Let's just do that.
I read this somewhere. I can't remember where, but men would be beasts fighting against beasts for beastly things,
Right.
And women, we bring a softness to life. We bring a gentleness.
Yeah.
We bring our femininity into the world of men, so that they have a soft place to land.
That's so good.
And it's when I really realized how much that meant to him, it was life-changing for me. I don't want to be a hard place for him to bump up against when he comes home.
Right. Because that doesn't, God has created you as his helpmate.
Yeah. Yeah. And I really had to look through that lens of how am I actually helping him? I think sometimes we have like these theoretical ideas about being a helpmate, but when it really comes down to being practical, I realized at some point that I just had to ask him, how can I help you? It seems so obvious, but
right.
Like, how can I help you this week?
Yeah.
Or, at the beginning of the year, I said, what can I do to help you when you come home just feel safe, to feel, like, what can I do to build an environment that is just helpful to you, relieve some of that stress? And that was one of the things that he and I were talking about, a couple weeks ago. And he's like, I really felt honored when you asked me, how can I help you, or what can I do?
Instead of you trying to just figure it out on your own.
Right. Because I was trying to figure out but I think men in particular, they appreciate when we're very clear, because sometimes we can do this thing where like, I expect you to know what I'm feeling.
We've been married so long, you should know what I'm thinking.
Yeah. And I think that men really just appreciate clarity, like just being really clear with what I'm saying, and, not being preachy or manipulative, but just being very clear with what I need, or with, just asking what he needs. And I, just kind of felt like I just need to, like, what is it you want?
Well, that's good communication.
Yeah.
And having Dean and I'll have these moments where we're like, okay, we're not communicating well here. Like I don't understand what you're saying.
Right.
So let's sit down and like break that down, because I want to understand. I want to help. I want to, and stuff. So it's like, all right, just hit that. Being like active listener, like, I'm going to ask you that question, but I'm going to really listen to what you have to say about it instead of interjecting all my thoughts about everything you have to say.
Yeah. I think that I know for me and Justin, he feels very honored when like he's speaking to me, I stop and I listen. Like I put my phone down or,
Mhm.
whatever task I'm doing. If I just stop and I look at him and I listen, and also like if I ask him for advice or I ask him what he thinks about something,
Mm.
putting that into practice
Yeah.
is men love to solve a problem,
Right.
you
Oh, yeah.
know? So it's like if I can include him in some things I'm trying to figure out, but
Mhm.
then honoring that by following through with that and
Yeah.
taking his advice and listening to him because I trust him. I
Yeah.
ask his advice and his opinion because I trust him,
Mhm.
and I value what he thinks and I want his input in how I manage our household and how I train our kids and what kind of meals I cook you know, and I certainly don't have to ask him,
Mhm.
and he doesn't want to micromanage me
Right.
necessarily, but
Right.
there's things that I want his opinion about and
Mhm.
I want his input because I care for him and I value his opinion.
Well, and you're honoring him in that. And
Mhm.
that's also honoring your relationship with God.
Mhm.
You know, God has placed our husbands as our covering,
Yep.
right? We go from our earthly fathers to our husbands
Yep.
as covering. And so, which is a huge responsibility on them, on their shoulders.
Yes.
And so, if I'm not honoring my husband in my home then I'm not honoring God.
Right. And that's the bottom line, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like we can honor God in just simple and subtle ways by just honoring, serving, valuing our husbands or other relationships in our life, friendships, family. Um, the Bible has a lot to say about honoring others and
Mm-hmm.
serving others and putting others above ourselves.
Yeah.
And, um, there's certainly times when that feels exhausting and it feels hard,
Mm-hmm.
but we do it as unto the Lord. We
Yeah.
don't do it for, human accolades, and we don't do it to get a pat on the back. We do it to honor God.
Mm-hmm.
And in the same way that we see that men here on earth need and want honor, well, they're made in the image of God.
Yes.
So God needs that honor and that respect from us, and how much more should we be giving it to our Father in heaven? And I would go as far as to say, if we're not honoring our husbands, then we're not honoring God.
Yeah.
We're not honoring what He's asked us to do. We're not honoring the, biblical order of how a family should run.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to bring disorder to the family.
Right. And so many places in the Bible, we serve a God of order,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so that's so important. So I have a couple questions, and um, I want. Was there a moment for you that, like a moment of conflict or turmoil, that kind of changed your view, where you realized, okay, this is what our marriage is hungry for, how I need to, like a specific moment that you can think of? Or was this just God's slow and steady leading?
I think it was slow and steady. I think it was just over time realizing that I had the ability to build up my husband and I had the ability to breathe life into our marriage or to really breathe death.
Mm-hmm.
And Justin and I, we did a marriage message, I think back in 2021
Mm-hmm.
on a weekend. And we talked about how really the women's role and what God created us to do was to breathe life into our marriage,
Mm-hmm.
to breathe life into our home,
Mm-hmm.
in the same way that the Holy Spirit breathes life into the church.
Yeah.
And I just over time got unsettled
Mm.
with little things like maybe the way I reacted or
Mm.
just kind of taking charge of things that I felt like it should be this way.
Mm-hmm.
Or, just as I was kind of working through that victim mentality of, oh, my life is so hard,
Mhm.
because I stay home with all these kids. I'm like, I chose that,
Right.
and it was really just understanding the load that he carries and to be um, wanting to be his biggest cheerleader, but also just putting some practical steps in place of
Mm.
how can I help you launch into a run,
Mm.
because he has a calling on his life,
Yeah.
and I'm a part of that calling. And I feel like I can either drag him down and slow him down in what God is asking him to do for his kingdom, or I can be running right next to him and encouraging him and launching
Yeah.
him forward. And a lot of times that means, what can I take off of his plate?
Mhm.
What can I do at home so that he has confidence in me that I've got it at home? I've got
Mhm.
things managed. I've got things taken care of. Now, there's going to be seasons,
Right.
pregnancy, postpartum,
Oh, yeah.
that there's a little bit of a give and take where somebody's going to be doing more than the other person,
Mhm.
and that's just marriage. There's just some seasons where one person might be carrying the load heavier than the other person.
Yeah. Figuring out the balance.
Yeah. But I just I want him to be able to run unhindered for
Mm.
the calling that he has.
Yeah.
And it was just kind of a slow realization
Mhm.
of that. Like,
Yeah.
he carries a spiritual weight, and I want to make sure that I'm not part of that weight.
Mhm.
I want
Mhm.
him to run unhindered.
Well, and this can totally be applied to anyone in any relationship. It doesn't have to be a marriage
Mm-hmm.
and stuff. A work relationship, a sibling relationship, a friendship relationship. A verse that had come to me when we had discussed, started to talk about honor. It's Romans 12:10, and it's be devoted to one another, honor one another above yourselves.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not specifically saying just spouse.
Right.
That's, I need to look around me and go, okay, I need to be honoring
Mm-hmm.
to those in this room.
Yep.
I need to be honoring of my friendships,
Mm-hmm.
things like that. And also, if you could speak to, so, we have a lot of people listening and, singles, marrieds, but there's also a lot of married women that maybe their husbands aren't following Christ right now and stuff. And the honor still comes into play there, right?
Yep. Yeah. So I kind of mentioned at the beginning, like, we can't guarantee that, when you start to actively honor your husband, that it's going to inspire a heart change in him.
Yeah.
There's no guarantee for that.
Mhm.
But I would say try it and
Mhm.
see, first of all, if the Lord doesn't do a heart change in you.
Absolutely.
Because when I really started actively seeking to honor my husband, it really changed the way that I viewed him, because I was really seeking to be sincere.
Mm.
Honor is not just flattering
No.
somebody. It's not just saying nice things. It's sincerely from my heart, appreciating him and seeking to serve him and love him. And when I really began to look for those things that I
Mhm.
wanted to call out in him, that I wanted
Mm.
to see in him, it really just did a deep work in my heart and
Yeah.
really deepened my respect for him and my adoration for him.
Mhm.
So I would say just try it.
Yeah.
Just, and you don't have to go, I'm going to do this for 30 days. Just really make it a point to seek to honor your husband. And I want to give some really practical
Yeah.
things. One of the things that Justin, because we're kind of talking about this before I did the podcast. I'm like, what is it? How do you feel honored?
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
and one of the big things he said was, it's just in subtle ways. It's my
Mhm.
tone of voice
Mm.
toward him.
Okay, that's very good.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that has taken Dean and I lots of years of marriage and lots of conversations
Right.
with. In the past, I might have said something, but my tone, he stopped listening to my words because of the tone that the words had.
Right. Yep. So I think that's a huge one. I think that really, going back to that softness and gentleness,
Mhm.
that spirit that we walk in, You know, um, I think it's very important that we have a soft and gentle tone. And, the scriptures say that a gentle answer turns away wrath,
Mm.
And that oftentimes just the way that I respond to him, the tone of voice that I have can just very easily like dissolve any tension that was rising.
Right. Dismantle that.
Yep.
Yep.
Totally changes the atmosphere, my attitude toward him. Something very practical that men feel very honored is when we prioritize sex for them.
Yes.
And, Justin and I were having that conversation, and he said, it's not just that you prioritize it, but it's your attitude about it. Like it's not like a duty or a chore,
Right.
It's something to be excited about. And I feel like that's a huge part of a marriage, obviously. And it's something that, when you have little kids, and it can very easily be something that is low on our priority list.
Right.
But man, make that a priority and see if it doesn't change the way that your husband responds to you.
Oh, absolutely.
So, tone of voice, attitude in everything, seeking to serve and meet his needs joyfully. And I would say sometimes it's helpful to go, okay, what's the opposite of honor? Because it kind of helps to give a clear picture.
Yeah, right.
So I kind of came up with like the 4 C's.
So some good checks.
Yeah.
Like, okay, maybe I'm not seeing how I'm supposed to be honoring,
right,
or what to do. But if I'm finding the opposite that I'm doing, and I do that constantly, like a check with myself, with God,
Right.
Okay, I know that if there's confusion or anxiety or those kind of things coming in, well, I know that's not God.
Not from God.
So what's the opposite of that? So I
Right.
can seek those out.
Yeah.
So that's good. I love that. Okay, so give us some opposites.
Yeah. So sometimes it's more helpful to kind of see it in these terms, but things that we want to avoid, things that will not be honoring in marriage. The 4 C's. So
4 C's. Okay. Good way to remember.
Yep. Don't be critical. Don't be condescending. Don't be controlling. And don't be combative. These are all things that, in our sin nature can come very easily and very naturally.
Yes.
But often what I see is this vicious cycle happens because when we treat our husbands that way, we're critical, we're controlling, we're condescending, we're combative. They respond in one of 2 ways, typically. Either it kind of kicks into gear their instinct for competitiveness to go to battle. We want our husbands waging war for us, not against us.
Not against us, or not in our homes.
Yes. So we can kind of, by operating with those 4 C's, we can kind of kick into gear that instinct for them to battle against us instead of for us. Or what happens is that they can kind of just become docile and just become passive because they don't want to deal with the moods or, and so it's sometimes easier to just
be passive.
To just be passive. Yeah. So, both of those situations are equally a problem in marriage.
Right. And they're going to extremes.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, talking about that vicious cycle, what can happen is, if a husband starts to go, passive or docile, he's not leading. And if a husband isn't leading, the wife will, and then she's going to resent him for it down the road.
Yeah.
And you see this in media all the time, movies, TV shows, where the husband is like a third child, right?
Right.
So what happens is, when a husband isn't leading, the maternal instinct gets activated in a woman. And what a husband wants is for her sexual instinct to be activated,
right?
Not her maternal instinct.
Yep.
So that becomes a dynamic that's very unhealthy.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know how many conversations I've had over the years with women. He has a mom. He doesn't want a mom.
He doesn't want to be mothered.
Yep. Yeah.
So, we really have to be careful to not um, to not tear down that leadership instinct in him, you know, because like I said, it can lead to one of two things typically, where they're battling against us, or they just kind of go docile and passive. And both of those are cycles that we really don't want. We really don't want in our homes and in our marriage.
Right.
You know, we want our husbands leading.
Mm-hmm.
Really, at the end of the day, women want to be led. They want to be cared for. They want to be cherished. They want to be provided for. They want to be protected.
They want that security.
Yes, absolutely.
All of that is, I mean, those are the two words that take me back to the wedding ceremony.
Yep.
That is, you know, we challenge the bride and groom and say, a husband wants to be honored, and a wife wants security.
Yep.
And they walk hand in hand with, as you're honoring your husband, he's bringing security to your home, right? And feeling secure, I honor.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, we've heard it said that men will go where they feel honored, you know, so, you know, if you're feeling detached from your husband, and maybe he's spending a lot of time at work and prefers being at work rather than at home, it could be that he feels more honored at work than he does at home. And, you know, I kind of made it a point of mine of like, there is nowhere on earth that my husband is going to feel more honored than in my home. I'm going to make him feel like a king. And when I really picked up that attitude of, I'm going to make him feel like a king in our home, well, he rose to the challenge, you know, and in return, he makes me feel like an absolute queen.
Yeah.
You know, and it's really just this beautiful song and dance, you know, of there's a melody and there's a harmony, you know, and when we're in sync together, and we're both seeking to outserve each other, and we're both seeking to meet each other's needs, and ultimately seeking to glorify God through it all, you know, there's just this really beautiful harmony that comes together as I follow his leading, because he is following God's leading.
Yeah.
You know, and at the end of the day, he's going to answer God for our home and our family.
Yeah.
As the priest of our home, he's going to answer God. And I want to make sure that as he is leading, that I'm following, that I'm getting on board with his vision for our home, for the ministry that he walks in, that I'm his teammate and his biggest cheerleader. And, you know, I want to make sure that I'm partnering with him in the calling that God has for his life.
Yes,
and
absolutely.
It's just a really beautiful thing to see blossoming and blooming, as I have chosen to see the honor that he needs, and the honor that really just calls him up, you know, and as he's responded to that, it's been a really cool thing for our marriage.
And another aspect of that is you have 5 lives that God has made you responsible for in your home.
Yep.
And they are watching this.
Yeah.
Right? Your daughters are watching this, and your son watching this. And so this is going to make them walk into their marriages, their relationships, wanting to mirror that, knowing this is how it's supposed to be,
right,
in that healthy environment. And so that, I mean, that's huge.
And I make a point a lot to speak very highly of Justin in front of the kids, and to call out things that I see, you know, because there'll be times that they're like, oh, why does daddy have to go to work? And, you know, and I always say, I am so grateful that your daddy works so hard for us so that we can have these toys, and we can have these, you know, treats, and we can, you know, go on vacation. You know, I'm so grateful that daddy works so hard for us. Your daddy loves to provide for us, and your daddy's always protecting us, you know, and I make sure that I call those things out so that they understand, you know, and two, as the kind of the main person at home that's training the kids, because I'm with them all day. not tolerating allowing them to disrespect him.
Yeah.
The way that they talk to him matters.
Mm-hmm.
And I really try to stay on top of that, of don't talk to your dad that way, and I recently kind of was able to have that conversation with my oldest daughter of, one of the ways that God made men is that they really need honor, and it was kind of it's just a teaching moment for her to go,
Mm-hmm.
I'm casting vision for her of not,
Right.
it's not just the how, but it's the why.
The why.
Why is it important for us to talk to dad this way?
Mm-hmm.
And really training her to speak that way to him, because I don't want her going into a marriage thinking it's okay for me to have a loose tongue and be disrespectful and for my tone of voice and my attitude
to fall under those seas.
Right.
Yeah.
Like that's not something on a lot of young women's radar, because it hasn't been modeled to them,
Mm-hmm.
and they think I can just say whatever I want, however I want it, and it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's like, well, it absolutely does matter.
It totally matters.
And it totally creates an environment. And I think as wives and women, you don't even have to be married.
No.
We very much bring an environment. We create an environment. We bring beauty to our homes.
Mm-hmm.
We bring peace and order to our homes. And we have that innate gift from God. And it can look different. We all have different skills. We all have different levels of creativity. And that's what's amazing about it, is that we can still be operating in the image of God. And it can look different from house to house on how we bring peace and how we bring creativity and how we bring beauty. But ultimately, it's just something that God has put in us that we can kind of, I don't want to use the word control, but we definitely have an influence on how the environment around us operates.
And that doesn't have to be within a marriage.
Right.
Where we started off from this is with with a friendship, within a relationship, for the ladies with their moms or their siblings and stuff, in your work environment and stuff. We have that opportunity to be that soft place, to bring that peace and to control. Okay, there I went with that word, but well, we have control
influence.
over
I
ourselves.
like the word influence.
That's better, yes. To influence our environment,
right,
no matter where we are.
Yep.
And of course, we want to influence it on the positive side, on the healthy side. And gold star to you to be able to talk to your 10-year-old about that. So she's starting to think about that. All three of our kids are married now, and that our daughters, I see them married to men that love Jesus and that love them and that provide for them. And I watch them honor their husbands. And in turn, they're these amazing men that provide that security for them, so that they can stay home and be raising their babies and stuff. And our son, I watch how we just had a conversation not too long ago about the importance of him providing security for his wife and stuff, and for us to see that in action and to just listen to our daughter-in-law honor him in just with beautiful words and with her life and how she does that. I mean, these things are generational.
Yep. Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And, society follows the family. So if the family is disordered, culture will be disordered. But if the family is in order, culture will follow, right?
Yeah,
so
that's good. And then we're back again to our God of order.
Yep.
Right? God of detail.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
He sees and cares about the small things, even things that we don't think are important, like our reaction to things, our tone, the way we set up the environment. Those things matter to God, because a disordered home is a disordered society.
Exactly. That takes me to another verse that I thought about was Psalm 147. That's the verse that speaks of He has determined the number of stars and called them all by name. And in Psalm 139, they reference He knows every detail of our lives. And so all of that is important. All of those details are. So even those moments when we think, okay, that doesn't matter, it does.
Right.
It does. Just where you would talked about what's the opposite of honor.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
do you have something you want to speak to everyone that's listening?
Yeah, I just
Like a
kind of
little.
want to, I mean, I kind of already said it, but I just want to reiterate, my challenge to the women that are listening.
Mm-hmm.
Whether you're single, there's men in your life, there's father, there's brothers, there's friends. You
Mm-hmm.
might be trying to catch somebody's eye.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me that you won't stand out as someone who is a woman that honors others. If you're looking to catch somebody's eye, you will stand out absolutely just by the way that you honor others. So, my challenge, I think specifically to married women is be genuinely honoring to your husband. And if you really think that he doesn't deserve it or he's not worthy, then let this be a time that the Lord does some inner work in you and see if it doesn't change your perspective toward
Start with your heart.
your husband.
Yeah.
But I would also be surprised if, as you go on this journey, that it doesn't soften his heart towards you as well. I'd be surprised if it doesn't deepen his adoration for you, if it doesn't broaden his affection for you.
Yeah.
I
The
really,
overflow.
I really feel like the way to a man's heart is through honor, and that is really an umbrella for the actions. If every action that you take towards your husband is covered in honor, I would be very surprised if he doesn't begin to respond to you in a different way.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
I think that's
So
good.
that's my challenge.
Would you pray for everyone listening?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely. Father God, we just thank you so much, Lord, that you care so much about us, Father, that you give us such wonderful instructions in your word, God. And one of the things that you talk about in our relationships with others is to be honoring, God. You say in Philippians that in our relationships with one another, we should have the same mindset as Christ Jesus, Father, that Jesus came with such a humble heart, Lord, that he was always looking to the interests of others, God, that he was serving others, Father, he was washing the feet of his disciples. And so, Father, I pray that we would imitate that, God, that we would, that as we walk in our image of you, God, as image bearers of Christ, Lord, that we would imitate what Christ did as he laid down his life for others, God. I pray that we would lay down our life for the people that you've placed around us, Father, our family, our spouses, our friends, our coworkers, God. I just pray that we would have a spirit of humility that says, I want to honor others above myself. Lord, ultimately it's to glorify you and to bring you glory, Father. But I pray that as we take these steps of obedience, Lord, that you would just bring a richness to the relationships in our life, God, that you would bring just a depth, Lord, of intimacy, Father, that maybe we haven't experienced before, Lord. And God, I pray that you would just do the deep work in our hearts that need to be done, Father, that ultimately we can't change other people, Lord, but you can change us, Father. So I pray that these women would just be open to whatever it is you're trying to do in their heart, God. And Father, at the end of the day, you're the one who deserves the honor. Yes. You're the one who deserves the glory. Father, you are worthy of our praise. And everything that we do, God, is to honor you and to bring glory to you. So I pray that as we go to work in whatever we're doing in our life, Father, as we really seek to just bring change in our own hearts and in our relationships, Father, that you would just bless us in this effort, God, that you would multiply our efforts. And Father, we just want to bring you all the praise, God, bring you all the glory. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Well, this has been so fun.
Yes.
I love our conversations. I'm glad everybody gets to listen in on them. We have them all the time, and this makes an opportunity for everybody to just listen in.
Yes.
So thank you so much for joining us on our Women of Victory podcast, and look forward to you listening to us again.